everyone, welcome to Jesse TV. Today we're gonna read Marvin Redpost. Why pick on me? Chapter 1. What's your favorite vegetable? Asked Casey. Marvin Redpost looked up. Potatoes. No, carrots, he said. It was very important he told the truth. Casey Happleton wrote it down. He sat at the desk next to Marvin. She had a ponytail that stuck out of the side of her head instead of the back. Casey, whispered Melanie, what's your favorite bug? Melanie sat in front of Casey. A stink bug, said Casey. Casey Happleton was a weird girl. What's yours, Marvin? Asked Melanie. Black Widow, answered Marvin. Ooh, said Casey. Who's jabbering? Asked Mrs. North Marvin. I wasn't jabbering, said Marvin. Melanie asked her survey question. Oh, well, you can do that later, said Mrs. North. This is silent reading time. Marvin returned to his book. He was 9 years old. He was in the 3rd grade. Mrs. North was his teacher. He liked Mrs. North. He liked the 3rd grade. He liked being 9. Have you picked your survey question yet? Stuart Albright asked him on the way out to recess. No, said Marvin. I can't think of a good one. Everyone in his class had to choose a survey question. Marvin was supposed to ask everyone a question and write down the answers. Then he would have to do a report on it. The results would be buried in a time capsule. It would be dug up in 50 years. That was why Marvin wanted to think of a real good question. What was your favorite vegetable? Asked Stuart. Carrots. Stuart nodded. It's weird when you think about it, he said. You have red hair. So? Said Marvin. They call a person with red hair carrot top. But really, carrots are green on top. So they should call a person with green hair carrot top. Stuart was Marvin's best friend. Marvin was the only one who understood him. They got online to play wall ball. Hi, Marvin, said Nick, getting in line behind him. Hi, Nick, said Marvin. Nick Tuffle was Marvin's other best friend. What's your favorite dinosaur? Asked Nick. Marvin thought for a moment. He didn't have a favorite dinosaur. Stuart made a noise with his nose. That's a stupid question, he said. Marvin looked at his 2 best friends. He was afraid they'd get into another fight. Nick and Stuart were always fighting. What's stupid about it? Nick demanded. Because, said Stuart, the results are going to be buried in a time capsule. In 50 years, people are going to dig up the time capsule, and then they're going to think there were dinosaurs around when we went to school. That's stupid, said Nick. Your turn, Stuart, said Marvin. What? said Stuart. Marvin watched Stuart play wall ball. He was up against Clarence, the toughest kid in 3rd grade. Stuart lost. Nick laughed when Stuart lost. Marvin stepped up. Even though Clarence was bigger and stronger, Marvin felt he could beat him at wall ball. Clarence served. He bounced the red ball once on the ground, then hit it hard with both hands together. The ball hit the ground, then bounced back to Marvin. Marvin hit it with both hands. The wall hit the ground. The wall then went back towards Clarence. Clarence smashed it, but too hard. The ball bounced off the wall and over the line. Marvin caught it. "I won!" Clarence declared. "You did not," said Marvin. "The ball was over the line." "You're crazy," said Clarence. "I saw it," said Marvin. "You did not," said Clarence. "You weren't even watching. You were picking your nose." Several of the kids online laughed. "It was over the line," said Marvin. "Go pick your nose," said Clarence. The kids online laughed again. Even Nick. "Come on, Marvin, get off the court," said Ryan. "You're wasting time." Marvin didn't move. "The ball was over the line," he said. "I saw it." "You were picking your nose," Clarence said. "I was not," said Marvin. "You were not," asked Clarence. "He just said he was not." Everyone except Stuart laughed. "That's not what I said," said Marvin. "That's not what I said," said Clarence. "Just go to the end of the line, Marvin," said Travis. Marvin didn't move. Clarence grabbed the ball from him. "Oh, gross," he exclaimed. "His boogers are on the ball." Even Stuart laughed. "I'm not playing with this ball," said Clarence. He threw it to Marvin. Marvin held up the ball. "Look, there's nothing on it," he said. "Now they are on his hands," said Clarence. Everyone backed away from Marvin. The bell rang. The other kids hurried back to class, leaving Marvin holding the ball. Chapter 2. It got worse. After school, Marvin walked home with Nick and Stuart. He was still upset. "The ball was over the line," he said. "Just forget about it," said Nick. "It was over the line," said Marvin. "We know," said Stuart. "Then why didn't you say anything?" "I don't know," said Stuart. "It was funny." "Boogers on the ball," said Nick. Then he and Stuart cracked up. Marvin didn't think it was funny. It was unfair. Clarence was just being a bad sport. "I didn't pick my nose," he said for the millionth time. "Just quit talking about it," said Nick. "Forget about it." "You can't keep telling people you don't pick your nose," said Stuart. "That sounds weird." "But I don't," said Marvin. His face burned as he thought about it. Everybody had laughed at him, even Nick and Stuart. If they were true friends, they would have stuck up for him. He couldn't stop thinking about it all day and into the night. It was unfair, he didn't pick his nose. The ball was over the line. When he got to school the next morning, the first person he saw was Casey Happleton. "Hi, Marvin," said Casey. Her ponytail stuck out of the side of her head. "I didn't pick my nose," said Marvin. "What?" "I didn't pick my nose," he repeated. Casey looked at him a moment. Then she remembered. "You're gross," she said. Warren sat in front of him. He had been absent yesterday. "Hey, Warren," Marvin whispered as he tapped Warren's shoulder. Warren turned around. "Did you hear I pick my nose?" Marvin asked him. "Well, I don't." Melanie sat next to Warren. "What did he say?" she asked. Melanie always wanted to know everything. "He asked me if I knew he picked his nose," said Warren. "Oh, yeah," said Melanie. "Marvin's the biggest nose picker in the whole school." "I am not," whispered Marvin. All morning, Marvin kept telling everyone he didn't pick his nose. But the more he talked about it, the more the other kids teased him about it. And the more they teased him, the more he kept talking about it. "Don't get too close to Marvin," said Clarence, "or else he'll try to pick your nose too." Chapter 3. It got worse. "What's your favorite color, Marvin?" asked Judy. Marvin thought about red because he had red hair and his name was Marvin Redpost. But really, he liked green better. The color of grass and trees. The color of springtime. "Green," he said. "The color of boogers," said Melanie. "You're disgusting, Marvin," said Judy, as she wrote down his answer on her sheet of paper. Marvin felt terrible. In 50 years, they'll dig up the time capsule, and they'll find out a boy named Marvin Redpost picked his nose, and everyone will laugh at him. Maybe in 50 years, he'd be president. But then they'd dig up the time capsule and say, "You can't be president anymore. You picked your nose." It wasn't fair. The ball was over the line. They didn't let him play wall ball at recess. "You'll get boogers on the ball," said Justin. Everyone laughed. But it was more than just a joke. Dave believed it too. As he walked away, he almost bumped into Heather. Heather was playing hopscotch with Gina. "Yuck! Don't let him touch you," said Gina. After school, he caught up with Nick and Stuart. "So what do you want to do today?" he asked. Stuart and Nick looked at each other. "We can go to my house," Marvin suggested. Said Stuart. Gina and Heather came towards them. Heather made a face at Marvin. "Who's your best friend?" asked Gina. "It's for the survey." "Nick," said Stuart. "Stuart," said Nick. Marvin couldn't believe it. Stuart and Nick would be fighting all the time if it wasn't for him. How could they be best friends? "Who's your best friend, Marvin?" asked Gina. Marvin looked at Nick and Stuart. I don't have a best friend, he said. He waited for Gina and Heather to leave. I don't pick my nose, he said. We know that, said Stuart. But if I said you were my best friend, explained Nick, everyone would think I picked my nose too. You were supposed to tell the truth for the survey, said Marvin. I did, said Nick. You're still our friend, said Stuart. Just not our best friend. That's right, said Nick. You can't have more than one best friend, said Stuart. Marvin walked home alone. He lived in a 2-story gray house. There was a white fence around the house. Next to the gate was one red post. Marvin tapped the red post as he walked through the gate. He had an older brother, Jacob, who was 11, and a younger sister, Lindsay, who was 4. They were both in the kitchen. Marvin, exclaimed Lindsay. Do you want to play Mommy and Daddy? No, muttered Marvin. Lindsay always wanted to play Mommy Daddy. The worst part was that Lindsay always insisted on being the daddy. That meant Marvin had to be the mommy. Hiya, Mar, said Jacob. Marvin grunted. What's wrong? Asked Jacob. Marvin shrugged. He couldn't tell his big brother that the other kids said he picked his nose. It was so childish. Jacob was cool. You want to do something? Marvin asked him. Can't, said Jacob. Nate and I are going to ride our bikes down Suicide Hill. Cool, said Marvin. He opened the refrigerator. Do you want to play doggy? Asked Lindsay. No. Doggy was worse than Mommy Daddy. Lindsay would throw a ball and Marvin would have to fetch it. He shut the refrigerator. There was nothing good to eat. Where's Nick and Stuart? Asked Jacob. Marvin shrugged. I don't know, he said. I don't care. He had better things to do, lots of things. Okay, Lindsay, he said. Let's play Mommy Daddy. Okay, said Lindsay, but I get to be the daddy.